Hey guys, Luton here, and today I'm going to be talking about some of these World War II shooters that are coming out. Now, there are a great number of World War II shooters coming out right now, and that means that competition is going to be stiff. We've also heard that a certain Call of Duty is also leaning back towards World War II. I think we can all make assumptions why that would be, and I'll probably make some discussion about that coming up in the future, about how it could be. I don't know, in today's world it might be something that's an option on the table, but anyway. There are multiple independent developers, all with titles burgeoning on release or already in access on Steam, but as is always the case with these kind of early games, buyer beware. Nostalgic hype is almost as bad as mass marketing hype, with the added sting that it's usually your own nostalgia that's the cause. So yes, we all look forward to some great World War II gameplay in war-torn Europe, but let's try to keep our feet on the ground. It's still about the same issues that never go away: design, mechanics, and player base. Now, often when a game is put into early access, the devs will say things like, it's a work in progress, we're ironing things out. Now, from one perspective, fair enough. Making games is expensive, plus having a live player base can help you form choices and eliminate issues. But on the other hand, and this I think does sadly apply to Days of War right now, releasing too early can create its own problems. You can either end up with an unsympathetic audience who gives a large amount of negative reviews on Steam, which has been the case, but as I've said for years, it's about those foundations of any online game. Make the infrastructure secure, make it stable, solid frames, and free from hacking assholes, as you can see at this guy I'm shooting at right now, who's taking 0 damage, and he was just being a pain in the arse camping us at spawn over and over and over again. Again, neither the case here. In about every game I've been in, there's either been some invincible asshat trolling people like this guy, or someone glitching and spawn camping. It gets very, very frustrating very, very quickly, because that's why these people do it. The developers should be extremely concerned by this, because if you do not address this issue and quickly, it's going to damage and alienate your player base, and you might not then have an audience around which to build your game. So have they addressed this issue? Let's take a look at that March update they've just posted. So the devs say, for this month's dev update, we wanted to take a moment to reflect on where we are at and where we're going with Days of War. We've received a lot of requests to expand the player base and community via a free weekend or similar promotion, but we don't think this is a smart move until we've gotten the game to a more acceptable state. There is still a lot of polish to add, optimizations to make, and map content to include to increase the long-term appeal of the game. Once we feel confident in our improvements, there are a lot of levers we can pull to bring more people into the game. I think that's all pretty fair enough. We've received an enormous amount of feedback from the first 6 weeks of early access, and it will take a few months to fully address the issues. We've translated this feedback into a few tenets that we're going to go to stick with as we continue to develop Days of War. Some of these have been repeating for a while now, but we want to make it clear where we're going and what we're going to be doubling down on. So what are those tenets? Well, they say maps. We're going to be focusing on close quarters public maps designed for 32 players for the next few official maps, with competitive minded maps for 12 players or large open 64 plus maps primarily sourced from the community. Gameplay, we're going to continue to test different configurations of movement and gunplay, but when we said fast pace, high damage, high recoil, we meant it. We want to encourage less iron sighting and proning, camping and holding angles, with more peeking and pushing. That all sounds good. Gamer mode, a focus on the domination game mode, so good. Visibility, a focus towards visibility and performance over detail and aesthetics, with more colour and fewer dark spots. I have found that in the gameplay. Modernization, keep the classic style shooter mentality but add features that give additional reasons to keep playing, like progression, cosmetic unlocks and stats. Optimization, will continue to aggressively pursue performance opportunities, knowing that in the short term this may come with temporary issues and regressions for some players. So what do we think about that? Okay, well, when it comes to modernization, talking about keeping the classic style, reasons to keep playing, progression, cosmetic unlocks and stats. No. Fundamentally wrong. Okay, your reasons to keep playing the game are not because progression, not because cosmetic unlocks, and not because stats. The reasons you keep playing the game is because it's a good game and it's fun to play. See, this is where so many devs seem to be going wrong at the moment, in my opinion. Okay, it's so unbearably frustrating to hear this kind of thing being said, because it's just like, no, like, the reason people want to play games is because they like to play the game. This is where Battlefield keeps going wrong. So much of this other crap, just layered on. No, people want a good game. That's what they want. They want a good gameplay experience. You could have all the crap in the world. You could have a super detailed progression system, loads of unlocks, loads of emphasis on stats and all this kind of stuff. It's irrelevant. That's not what people are playing the game for. People are playing the game because they want to have a good gameplay experience. Do you want me to give you the best example of that? Armor. Armor has everything unlocked right from the very beginning. It has basically no stats that are really relevant to anyone, and it essentially has no progression unlocks or anything like this. It doesn't have any of that, and yet I've put more time into that game than I have literally any other game in the past, I guess, 2 years, you know, and many other people that I know also have the same deal with that. Now, does it mean that there's anything wrong with cosmetic unlocks, progression or stats? No, there's nothing wrong with those things. In fact, actually, they can be really fun. I actually love the feeling of progression in a game. I love the feeling of that. It's a really nice feeling to unlock stuff. It's fun to have some things closed away to you and then you get to unlock those. That's great. But that's not what keeps people playing the game, and it's not what you should be thinking of in terms of keeping people playing the game. What you should be focusing on is ensuring to make the most solid possible gameplay experience, and that's what will keep people playing the game. Now also, there's no mention of the issues which are hurting the game the most right now. But look, okay, I'm giving them a pass on this right now. I personally would have made sure to get those things as airtight as possible before putting a game out there, actually for sale at £20, but I'm sure they've got a fair reason for doing so. Either way, as is always the case, no one's forcing you to buy anything. If you invest in an early access game to a degree, you need to expect these things may exist. People are going to argue that point, but personally, if it's early access, you know it's early access, you know it could be a hit or a miss, that's your risk. Now let's look at the positives though. I am liking the map detail and designs, especially the town maps. They look really fantastic, without also being dark and unnecessarily gritty. As much as the devs may not want it to, camping is going to exist though. That's just something you can't eliminate from FPS games, unless you put in place some sneaky mechanic where if you're staying one spot for too long you put on the map or something like this. But then, you know, some people are going to argue camping, defending, where do you draw that line? Well, I'll tell you where. You can usually draw that line depending on if you're defending or attacking, or if you're winning or losing. If you're winning, then yeah, you can stay still and defend your positions. If you're losing, you need to push out and get in the mix. Now, I do also enjoy the mechanics they have with this game. The stamina mechanic is a nice feature and ensures a certain pace to the game. It's pretty great to see that in an FPS game, and a shame that only more serious titles like Armor have thought to include that up till now. It can feel restrictive at times not being able to constantly sprint, but you know, that's the whole point. The high damage model on a small player count leads to a more campy style of play, but with more players it can feel just quite intense. I'm extremely thankful that they had the insight as well to create class limitations, otherwise this game would be a non-stop sniper fest, so kudos for that. Seriously, it shows it can work in a more arcade environment just as well as it can in a Milsim one. By the way, just if you're not sure what I mean by limiting class, it's just like where you can only have 2 snipers per team or something like that. You know, if you didn't have that on this game, it would be a nightmare. The recoil between weapons is a good balance as well, especially when it comes to those heavier, fully automatic weapons. You know, they're designed for support, not assault. It's, again, amazing to see that in a small independent game. You see this kind of sensibility, but not with a huge multi-million-dollar production like Battlefield. So it just kind of shows you these things can be put into a game, and it does make you question, why were these not considerations with other titles? But, you know, nothing surprises me anymore because it's 2017. Anyway, Days of War is on Steam right now, as I say, for £20. It's in early access, and I'll continue to give you updates about it as they continue to update the game. I'm going to keep my eye on this one. Coming up next in the World War II series of games, though, I'm going to be checking out Day of Infamy, and then also likely Battalion 1944. So tell me your thoughts about this new trend of World War II releases in the comments. Is it a case of there being no buses and then 3 come along at once, or is it actually just what everyone wanted to have, this huge range of choice in World War II games? Tell me down in the comments below, guys, and thanks for watching.